I asked him why. Because there's some accounts and we are out and it's a family. They're very good accounts, but they're very good.
Yeah,
She's like, collector, stop doing. Stop doing. Just wait and see. When you're around in the evening, look at
We should ask Croatian to organize restaurants.
So, thank you everyone for joining us. It's great to be here at the House Back to Health in Bristol on the third of our six-part series of Dairy XL panel event across TV. So apologies to those online that we've had such a staggered start. We've had a number of technical issues. I suppose it's one of those issues with going into that unfamiliar territory in a hotel. You never know what challenges you'll encounter, but I hope everyone has made it online. So just some for the physical people that are here, just some housekeeping. Fire exits are out to the left. Bathrooms are just outside to the left. They're quite obvious. Phones, if we can have them on silent. And questions. We run through the presentations, and then after each presentation, we will give some time for questions on that specific farm and that specific topic. But then at the end, that's whenever we really want to get into the debate on some of the burning topics affecting large Dairy XL farming, both locally and the farm. So I'm absolutely delighted to say that we have some very special guests with us, with David and his partner, Jess, and then Rick as well, a local Dairy XL farmer as well, which is brilliant to have on the panel as well, giving us the inside track locally. So I'm just going to say a few words from what Dairy XL really means to us locally and to Lely. So one thing that we always start with Lely is that the cow is at the central point of all the decisions and innovations that we bring to the market. They have to be able to produce milk as our core business, milk production. They have to bring that in a sustainable manner. And all of our innovations are where cows are fed, milked, and kept clean and hygienic throughout all processes. And more so looking into the future, where we are today, and where the future innovations will be, that will also be much more into the sustainability piece. For example, we talk about the sphere, the exhaust, and then even into the data side with Horizon. Our key ethos is that milk production will be produced sustainably, profitably, and enjoyably. And one of the keys that is removing the repetitive tasks that we do day to day and replacing it with automation. So what does sustainability actually mean? We see this on the slide, it's sustainability versus public perception. But what does that actually mean? For us, sustainability at Lely means treating animals, people, and the environment responsibly. So as Lely, we are certainly aware that we are a long-term partner of our customers, our farmers, and we want to create an environment and a business that is worth handing down to the next generation, and a business that they want to receive as well. So we're there for the generational farmer and to promote that. We want to minimise our reliance on finite resources, on our fuel and our energy, and on our water as well. We see those obviously as finite, but they aren't always going to be there, and when they are, they will become expensive as they're highly sought after. So we want to approach farming circularity, making the most of the resources that we have on farm. We also will see that a big thing in sustainability is the data. So the data that we collect, there's loads of information available on farm, just we don't collect it. We don't know when we do collect it what to do with it. So So data, we see that as a huge part of our business and your business going forward, on how we can create those efficiencies in the business. The other one is the social aspect of sustainability, and what does that mean? When I wrote this down, I said a social acceptance of the agricultural practice. But I realised that that's what we want actually as farmers. We want more than social acceptance of what we do. We actually want to be supported by the public and to be valued by our supply chain and by our politicians as well who made the decision, who value the food security and high quality produce that we offer. Next thing on our vision is profitability. All farms have to be profitable, and all of our innovations have to deliver a profitable bottom line to our customers. Profitability is not only, well, it's obviously financial, but there are also other measures of profitability, whether that is time with kids, time with family, whether that is healthier cows. So it is the drivers on that business, and as long as it aligns with the individual business plans and goals of the farm, we view that as a success. And the last one is enjoyability. This is a big thing whenever we talked about, for example, the handing of business to our next generation. Do we want to hand them a life sentence that they would begrudge, or do we want to hand them a business that they look forward to going to every day, that they can grow with and will help them improve? So when we look at our Lally Dairy XL, so what is Dairy XL? Dairy XL is where we look at a specific farming segment of over 500 cows, 8 robots, 2 vectors, and we see that they have unique challenges. It's not that they are exempt from the same challenges as family farms, but they, as scale has increased, we also see that these challenges are exaggerated. So we talk about staffing, we talk about lean management, we talk about shed layout, cow health. We talk about all these things that on a smaller farm we can accept, but on bigger farms we have the ability to improve and become leaner and more efficient. But is it growing? So in 2017 we had approximately 120 farms milking 70,000 cows. In 2023 we have 300 farms and nearly 250,000 cows. So yes, it is growing. The trend is going in that direction. But why is it not growing quicker? And one of the things that we see as one of the big challenges facing Dairy XL adopting automation is this. It's a mindset shift. We are changing the belief system, the way of working that has worked for generations. Cows and staff are all structured around milking time. We now really have to let go of that and the control that brings and the routine that brings, to give the animal, the cows, the chance to express themselves and to meet their own needs as individuals. We see that historic or the traditional milking system is built to milk cows. We have tracks that go up and down, left and right, and cows will follow this way and then they will go this way. That's all very routine. Whereas in Lally we build systems to manage. So to manage cows efficiently, manage staff efficiently, manage nutrients efficiently. So it's a very different mindset than what we've had before. And it comes down to 3 principles as we see it. We say the cows don't have enough time, which we'll go into in more detail. Labour organised around the cows, and management and focus areas on the farm. Where do we need to spend our time, and where does the value come from? So the first one, cows don't have enough time. To achieve their genetic potential, do cows need to stand or be herded into collecting yards? Do they need to be held there while waiting to be milked? No, absolutely not. Cows, with automation we give, and free car traffic, we give cows the freedom not to have to do that, to give them more time to eat and improve their dry matter, less time on their feet, helping foot health, to achieve their genetic potential that's there. Labour organised around the cows. Whenever we look at a robotic system, we see flexibility. So we see we have routine tasks that must be done in Lely, we see the 9 cow touches. These are 9 scheduled tasks, scheduled health events that must take place throughout a cow's lactation. We'll hear actually from Rick that is very, very good at one of his key things is minimizing those cow touches, or routining the cow touches and then minimizing the unroutine cow touches. So it really supports that. But once we get our system in place to do these 9 minimum cow touches, then how do we organize our staff around that? How do we make sure that we have the right people in the right place at the right time to do the job in the right way, meeting the cow and the farm expectations? And the next one is management by expectation. This is a very important one where the ethos is that we spend 80% of the time with 20% of the herd. So it's how we structure our sheds that they are in focus, that they are easy to handle, they are efficient, and they can be given the attention that they do, that they deserve. Because we know if finding cows is hard work, if separating cows is hard work, if trimming house feed is hard work, it won't be done to the level that it should be done to allow that cow to excel. So we need to focus our time on those, focus and allocate the right time to those cows to do the best possible. But it's not just what we have, what we can deliver to our farms locally. We are, as Lely Dairy XL, we have a large community of bred cow farmers, and we can draw on their expertise, and we do on a regular basis. This is a map of where our Dairy XL farms are across the world, and it's brilliant when we can pull on all of this expertise, resource, to solve problems and share best practice with other parts of the world as we go through different challenges at different times. So once we are in this community, it's a fantastic resource to help new customers find their feet and help established customers further fine-tune their businesses. So that's a brief overview of what Dairy XL is and what it means to Lely. But people aren't here people haven't logged on online, and they didn't come here to hear me give a corporate presentation with what Dairy XL is. They want to hear from our panelists. So I'm going to hand over to our first panelist.
All right. Thanks everyone for coming. So my name is David Trimmer. This is my wife Jessica, and we are Miltram Farms. So we are right. Let's see if this is going to work on TV. Not really well. So we're right here. We're in north central Wisconsin in the United States. And so with that, let's get into some detail. So a couple of things about our dairy. What you're seeing here is the whole setup of the farm. And so real briefly, what we see here is our double 24 herringbone parlor that was built in 2000. And with that, we've got our what we call barn 1. So this is where all of the cows that are, these are where all the cows are that are getting milked in the parlor. And then this is what we call barn 2 here. So we got going on here is all of our special needs cows. So all of our calving, all of our dry cows, pre-fresh, fresh cows, everything happens in here for both facilities. And then what you see here is the robot facility. So that currently houses about 1,800 cows on 30 A5 robots. And then we also have our event center here, and that's where we'll host different educational events, rent it out to people for different things, and it's a really nice space to have on the dairy. So just a brief history of the farm. We were actually started in 1988 by my uncle, right here, Tom Miller, and my dad, Scott Trimmer, who passed away in 2015. We're the 3rd generation of my farm. So we're actually partnered with Andy and Jenny Miller, who are here tonight. That's them and their children. And so Andy and I bought in together 3 years ago into the dairy, and Andy's actually a long-term employee, not part of the family. So it's great to have someone who wanted to come in with myself, and the 4 of us together are in it now, and we're very excited about the future of the dairy. So, and we milk 3,100 cows, respectively, in each area. We have about 2,500 head of replacement heifers. Most of those are raised about 2 miles down the road on the original dairy. That's from 5 months on, up to just before calving. And then the rest of them are housed at a calf ranch about 2 hours to the east in Wisconsin. We crop about 5,200 acres. With that, it's all either maize for grain or for silage, and then the other half is for our haylage blend. We do lucerne, grass, and clover mix with that. And then again, we have our Milk House Visitor Center. Milk House is the German spelling of the word. So, this is what the barn looks like on an overview. So what we've got here, we got all 30 robots right down the center of the facility. So you can see we run the capital L. And so one thing we like about that is the fact that we have access, these center areas are what we call the sort areas. So when we're doing things with cows such as preg checking, breeding, any kind of other thing, we have access to that. The robot can route there, but then they can stay there for more than a few hours because they can get remilked in that robot. So that's kind of a nice benefit to that. The barn is what's called a neutral pressure system for ventilation. And so we've got exhaust fans on this end. We have intake fans here and here, as well as on the east side. One of the reasons why we did that, a little different than your climate, of course, is it gets very cold, and then summers are moderate, I would say, a little hotter than what you have. But this allows us to have full control of how air comes into the barn. One thing that happens when it gets to negative 17 degrees or below, you get a huge amount of fog that will come into the barn. So this helps manage that, manage the temperatures. We like to keep it about 2 to 4 degrees Celsius at all times in the winter. So keeping that above freezing, particularly the other reason being we flush the alleys. And so all the alleys are flushed with reclaimed manure water. We have a 10-meter tall flush silo that will dump at 25,000 liters per minute, and that flushes each alley, gets most of the manure, and then we bed it with reclaimed sand. And so then with that, we'll put sand in the, we call them stalls. We do that twice a week, and when we do that, we'll actually do a maintenance scrape, get any excess buildup of sand off of the curves. Let's see, another thing about the barn, it's been very good with, back to the ventilation. We have a lot of fans over the top of the cows for cooling in the summer. And this last year we had some highs of about 35 degrees Celsius. We didn't see any milk loss. We're very happy with how the barn performed during the hottest times of the year. We will get some humid days, probably not quite what you see, but temperatures are just a touch higher than what you're going to see here. So again, just a close-up of the robot setup. You've got your CU room with your 3 CUs that power your 4 robots here, and your 1 on each side, again, for 3 robots per pen. Again, just details, the things I explained. We have 5 Legionella pushers as well, that push up feed for this facility.
So, Dave, on
Yeah.
your design, sorry,
Yep.
do you have to route, if you want to catch a cow in one of your robots, does you have to go through the other cow, other robot to get into the catch pen?
Yes, it does. Yep, this
Yeah, that
will
would
be
be
out in here, and if there's a cow, she'll have to wait a couple minutes to
Right.
get to the next one.
So you do lose a little bit of time.
Yes.
Right.
All right, we'll let Jess talk about playground.
So like all good farm teams and farm couples, we complement each other in different ways. David designed the barn for me and the cows. So I do a lot of the cow work. So we just decided instead of me answering questions from the audience, I could come up and talk about them here now. So you've heard the specs. Right now, what we're seeing in the robot barn, we've been in for 4 years now. We're averaging 43 liters of energy corrected milk. We learned that the conversion isn't quite the same as the American conversion. Averaging 140,000 SCC. We're also at 3 visits per day. We do fetch 4 times a day, and like the other panelists will talk about, it's what we haven't talked about is how customizable the program is. It's very tailored to what you as a producer would like to see from your cows, but also tailored to the cow specifically too. So we have a lot of opportunities to maximize that genetic potential by simply being able to customize it. And then with that, we average about 5 kilograms of pellet to 45, it's supposed to be kilogram, 44 liters of milk. And we have a 2-feed type system. We've gone through many different feed types to kind of find what works best for us, and ultimately what's going to help tailor and drive that cow to the robot. Today, that means we're feeding corn gluten, and then we also have a custom robot pellet that goes to the early lactation cows, and then we start to tailor in the corn gluten later on. But we like that mixture. It seems to be working really well for us. Along with that, when we put this system in, we really, like Laylee says, we put the cow at the center. We wanted to make sure that we also provided her a comfortable place to maximize this efficiency and also to maximize that profitability on our side of things. So we put a lot of technology in compared to what we see over in our conventional system. So with that, we use the Laylee cues tags. With that, we are breeding off of activity. So we are currently seeing a 33% preg rate with a 50% conception, and then 70% of those cows are just being bred off of activity, and then we move into a pre-sync or an off-sync program that we're breeding 30% of the cows. Again, too, like we've talked about, and I think in the U.S. we probably have maybe more resources closer to us, but as we get bigger, we're turning to more items in-house, and so just in the last year and a half, we started doing our own in-house ultrasounding. We do a small portion of breeding, but I think what we've seen and talked about is when you go into these systems and you get that buy-in on the efficiency and it's all about the cow, you elevate your people. And in that moment, when they're excited about what they do, they can take on more things. So it's been a great opportunity not only for the cows, but also for our people, because skill sets that we didn't know that they had or were interested in, we now can spend time and invest in them through the system, because they don't have to spend 8 hours milking cows or just having calves. So it's more than just the cows. It's totally the culture of our farm.
You skipped the labor.
Oh, I skipped.
There
Okay.
you go.
Anyways, back to labor. You're probably like, how do you run this system? Magic, people. The cows do it all. So we have 6 full-time employees. Like I said, we have a really great team. So it's 8-hour shifts, 8 9-hour shifts. It's been a learning culture for us, just like other farmers. We work from sun up to sundown. Our people really love to work, but we're trying to get that work-life balance in, and that's been huge for the robots. So now we just have to get the people on the same idea as the cows. Let's work hard when we have to, and let's take a break when we can. So we have, on 6 full-time employees, we average about 300 cows per employee, and that consists of a robot cow manager, so she oversees all of the tasks that come down to getting those cows in front of her every morning that she needs to work with or see. And then we have a robot maintenance manager, and he specifically does the daily checklist on all of the robots. So he'll go through and do calibrations weekly, feed teacups, and then he'll go through and check the bleed holes every day. And then if any alarm were to come up during the day, he is responsible for handling those alarms. And then we also are to the point where we're doing a level of our own scheduled service maintenance. So he's been a huge asset to us, and we enjoy having him. Like I said, we've kind of elevated. He worked 12 years in the maternity barn, and he's hung just about every stall in our new barn, and now he's lead on maintenance. So it's been incredible what he's learned. And then again, to complement those 2 managers, we have 4 robot attendants that work throughout the day, and they're mostly looking at fetching cows and cleaning robots throughout the day with the separated sand. We do a lot of extra rinses, especially on the teacups, and then also maintenance. So for the most part, when we talk about handling calls, major calls go to Jesus, and then the robot attendants will handle the less critical alarms, and they are capable of doing basically any cable laser swap out. But when they can't figure it out, we call Jesus or the maintenance manager. And then, like I said, we've been very fortunate We have a really good relationship with our dealer. He's also 30 minutes from us, so that's a convenience. But to this point, we've now come to being able to do 80% of the robot service in-house on the dairy, which when you have 30 robots is quite incredible, we think, and we're hoping to continue that. So now, if there are any questions, this.
Do you fetch your cows 4 times a day?
Yes.
Do you think you overfetch your cows and you've actually trained them to expect you to come in?
So there is definitely, and we'll probably talk a little bit later about some of the fluidity we have with having a conventional parlor and the robots. So it's definitely parlor cows will definitely appreciate you coming to fetch them, depending on when you bring them in. But we do, for the most part, our fetches are at about 5%. It's a very small number of cows. The most fetching we do is some of the late lactation girls. So I don't see it as a issue on the cow side, and it actually is a benefit on the heifer side, because it just means to get the ones that aren't quite taken off. But no, I love to fetch maybe one less time. It's just, we see that extra advantage of making sure that the fresh cows are getting in closer to that 3 to 4 times. It seems to really help with the efficiency of getting to peak and then persisting out a little bit faster. Just more efficiency, but
I mean, does it matter if you don't fetch a late cow? By nature, she maybe only needs to be milked once or twice.
correct, yeah. We average, I think, 2.5 milkings on a late lactation cow. For the most part, I'm more of a cow person, but again, when we're working with people and we're managing, and some of the things we now have in Horizon we're managing, I would like it if they'd at least take a look at her, because if she's not acute and active, but is maybe on the tipping point, I want to make sure that they're at least eyeing her over when they walk through the pen. So no, we have a couple of dairies around us too that when they put the late lactation pens in, they just stop fetching altogether. We just haven't. We're working on that release of, they will come in, we know they come in, it's just we know they're also very lazy on that late lactation group. But no, I do agree that 4 times a day, from the conversations we've had across people in the US and just us here this week, it's, maybe a little too much. And two, I'm all about efficiency, so if I can reduce the time I have fetching and I can do other things, because we again have a heifer facility and another parlor and maternity, and if I can maximize where I can allow people to come in, and these are very skilled people, add them to my other crews to make sure that I'm elevating all the way along.
So that labour, no calving, no transition, no foot trims. So it's just milk production.
Correct. This is
Foot
just,
trims it is.
well, yes, we don't in-house trim, so this is
So
only
that's
per labor
yeah.
getting the cows.
Those 6 guys have been trimmed.
Yeah, correct. So no feeding, no sand bedding, no trimming,
No, no scraping.
this is just running the barn.
Yeah, we flush, but then
Yeah.
he'll scrape.
So when we run foot baths, they'll do a maintenance scrape on it, so very minimal scraping.
And ECM is for like 3.5 and 3.2, right?
Correct, yeah. Yeah, so like I said, it's about 43 liters at a 4.1 and a 3.2.
Any other questions from the audience?
Where else have you adopted automation on your farm, or where do you want to add automation?
Yes, so when, like I said, I'm the cow person, so I can see a lot, but when you go to the robots and you can have a lot and you get all the data, I think it's become a super powerful tool. So once we went into the robotics, we realized how far behind we were on our parlor. We were just doing monthly testing. We weren't actually doing daily weights. So then we implemented milk metering into the parlor alongside DHIA testing. I think the next thing in the area we're lacking, but we're working on bringing in-house, is breeding. And we'd absolutely love to go to activity monitoring. And then just as far to as lockup times, we would like to be able to throw attention faster at certain fresh cows. So to add an activity system, we can look at rumination as well as activity, so that way we can minimize lockout times and maximize efficiency on, working with cows. It's probably the next area. We're also in the process of, looking at bringing our wet calves home, or keeping our wet calves at home. And so now it's, what type of feeding system do you do? And on our size, do you go automated, or do you go into calf huts? But similarly, like Rick will talk a little bit about, and Neil as well, we are, and also what we talked a little bit earlier is we're all starting to be more aware of animal welfare and try to make sure that we are bringing the best light to the public. So in 2030, we have regulations coming that we will no longer be able to singular house calves that have to be paired. So it's kind of in that realm as well. So I think that's interesting and cool when we've been discussing stuff, but we kind of the similarities, yet some of the advancements we've made in different areas. So anyways, long-winded, but that's what we're looking at.
And then on less cow side, I guess you could say, so we do have 5 junos. It'd be nice if they made a nice large dairy juno that could do more cows, because there's, Rover Deck is a company that has one that claims to do 2,500 cows with one pusher. And so, something to consider. But the other thing, we have looked at vectors, how that could be incorporated, particularly just in the robot facility. Right now, due to battery capacity, it'd probably be $1 million project. We need four, maybe even 5 vectors to do that farm that you saw. So if you get that down to 1 or 2, and then for us, it's your traditional feed kitchen, it would be commodity boxes where you got corn silage, haylage, premix, and loading is quick and efficient, and yeah, so, but again, right now, just theoretically, probably $1 million with maybe a kilogram of milk more, so. Just in the long term, thinking about it. So.
Are there any questions online at this stage? No.
What was the key driver to putting the robots in, rather than just, doubling up the parlour, or?
Yeah, so it was a good long process. We started checking things out in 2016, just myself personally, and then in 2017, more people got on board. 2018, we looked at rotaries and robots, as well as steel robots alongside that. And we felt long-term, we wanted to expand, but just to throw a big rotary in front of the parlor and working through that, and then also labor costs. At the time, especially, labor was getting very difficult to find. The animal welfare side of things, a free flow setup versus push them into the holding pen to put them in the parlor. All of those cow performance kind of led us to, let's go the robot route. And then in 2019, we did start with 18. We didn't jump into all 30. So we started with 18 robots, and then after a year, the cows really took off and did well. And we thought, yeah, we definitely got to finish the barn. So we made it so you could add it to the rest of the width. And so then we had the last 12 robots, and that's been very, very successful.
Do you have any cows that go just to the parlour and just through the boxes? And if so, what's the yield gap?
Average yield gap is going to be right around 2 liters a day. So, yeah.
Maybe 1,000 litres a day.
What's that?
Maybe 1,000 litres a year.
Yeah. But one thing we've seen that's really exciting, our top cow we've ever had on the herd was in the robots. It was 90 liters per day she was doing. So, yeah, it's really good top end potential, and then hopefully we continue that. So.
Do you see any cost benefits related between the two different ones on cost of production or labor, etc.?
Yeah, so what we do is we compare the two for all of their metrics. And so those metrics are going to be feed, labor, energy, which is electricity and natural gas, repairs, maintenance, chemicals, and reproduction, some health stuff. And overall, when you put them all together, it's about $1 a hundredweight, or 1.7 pence per liter in favor of the robots. And that was prior to our change in the pellets that we're feeding and the company that makes them. For us, we were around that $330 per ton, and now we're down to $240 per ton. So a huge change that's gonna be hundreds of thousands of dollars difference. So that just took place 2 months ago, so we do a quarterly this comparison, so we'll start to see what that looks like. Because robots are always a touch higher, and this is all based on milk, just to keep it even. It's all based on per hundredweight of milk. And so, so we're excited to see what that brings, but it's always been about $1 better. Or 1.7.
We've just had a question from online, guys, from Ben. Can you see any other health conditions between parlour cows and free cow traffic cows in the barn?
Yes, so as you saw, our layout is quite spread out. So in the parlor, the girls definitely get their steps in, so we do see an increased amount of lameness, especially in the summertime. David talked about the ventilation. I think that's been huge. We don't have cows up on their feet. They're comfortable in that barn. So yes, we see a fair bit more lameness. I like to think that our parlor crew is doing an amazing job. So we will see a little bit of increased mastitis, but not significantly different than in the robot barn. And otherwise, cows are very healthy in both herds. So we do have pretty low incidences as is.
Yeah, one of the big burning ones will be a longevity. I think we've talked about that, I suppose, as a group a few times. It'd be really nice to open that debate again with everyone on what a longevity looks like in your situation, system versus system, and then what it looks like in robots before and after as well. So maybe open that one up there. Yeah. Okay. So any further questions before we hand over to Rick? Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. My name is Rick van Hees. This is where I live. This is our barn. And yeah, a little bit about myself. I'm married with Marie and I got 3 children. I'm originally born in the Netherlands. My parents moved to Denmark in '94. So I've done 2 seasons of work in Australia. I work on different farms, dairy farms around in Denmark, and lots on the family farm. Today I have a 50% ownership of Van Hees Dairy Partnership with my brother, and I'm managing the dairy side of our setup, and my brother is doing the machinery in the land. We crop about 700 to 800 acres of land as well. I do a bit of sale and recycling of plastic in use in farming industry. I have done some board work in the Danish Dairy Board for 30 years, and I just got into Viking Genetics board, so that's something I did do as a hobby. A little bit of our milestones. We moved in '94 we moved to Denmark. My father was a dairy farmer in the Netherlands with his brother, and that farm was just way too small to provide 2 families. So one of them had to go, and we went to Denmark. So we got our first robots in the Lady A2 installed in '99, and since then we just built up. My father just built up more and more robots since then. I bought my first own farm in 2013, and it was a Jersey farm, and I also installed 2 A2 robots, just used. Because there was a milking parlor, and I'm not that good in milking in a parlor. I really don't like it, so that's why I very fast found some used A2 robots and put them in there. Yeah. So in 2017 we bought my father's farm, And in 19 we swapped all the 10A2 robots to A5 robots. So yeah, that was a very good choice, but we should probably have done it 3 or 4 years before. They got 20 years old, and that's, I think, the maximum limit of a robot. So yeah, and then we're looking at 2030, and yeah, what are we going to do? Are we going to expand? What does the society, politics, what do they want? So we're kind of making a strategy for 2030. So that's something we're working on and looking at. If we're going to grow, what's the next generation doing, and so on. It's a big question. So we're working on that. Our management on the farm, yeah, we start 6 o'clock in the morning, fetching cows, cleaning the bags, taking care of the calves, feeding cows. All that is done in 3 hours, maximum 3 hours. And in the evening we work from 3 to 7, from 3 to 5 in the afternoon. And that's 4 employees doing that job. So it's the one, I'll show you later, it's 1 person in 1 barn with 8 robots, 1 person in 1 barn with 2 robots, and there's the third one is he's just overall taking care of the calves and so on, doing the trimming if needed, and then the 4th is mixing the feed. And I'm as owner, I'm doing all the insemination and the pregnancy check every day, 7 o'clock in the morning. On Monday we always have a full day, so all the week is from 6 to 9 and from 3 to 5. And on Monday it's a full day where we dry off, trim the hooves, we move the cows between the different groups, we make a hoof bath and so on. So we only disturb the cows 1 day a week. So we have a very long weekend. So that's all our touch points are only on Mondays. So yeah, our production per labor hour is 738 kilo ECM in energy corrugated milk per hour. And yeah, it's difficult because in Denmark we have one way to calculate the ECM, and in the US it's a little bit different. So yeah, I don't know how to take care of that, but at the moment we are yielding 36 ECM per cow. We have 5% of fat and 4% of protein. So we have our herd is 20% pure Jersey, 20% pure Holsteins, and the rest is rest of the on a crossbreed between Holsteins and Montbéliard. Yeah, this is our farm. So we have all the solid pigs right there. This is our manure storage. This is the old barn where my father started with 2 robots on each side of the barn. He expanded with putting 1 in there, and then he put 1 in there, and then he put 1 in there, and he put 1 in there, and I put 2 in the other farm with the Jersey cows, so there were robots everywhere. And then in 2011, my father chose to build this setup, but we only finished the half part of it inside. So in 17, when we got into we bought my father's farm, we finished it. We put all the robots in 1 barn with the 2 robots in this one. Yeah, what we're doing here is we are having our calving. This is our calving area, and the first 2 weeks, week or 2, they will go into this pen, and we milk them with 2 robots. And actually, it's probably they're pretty spoiled because we're only having 50 to 60 cows from 2 robots. And why do we do that? It's because we don't have a milking parlor where we can go back to. So this is our milking parlor set up so we can concentrate about these cows with 2 robots. And it also gives advantages of the heifers are getting more time to teach because they don't get pushed away by the old ones. So there is plenty of time, free time on these 2 robots. That also makes me push these robots to the maximum, so we have a free time percentage of, I can probably push it down to 3 to 5%. But that's also the maximum. So, we have been yielding 2,500 liters on 4 of the robots, but the Jerseys will probably never get there, but they have the solids, so yeah, it's always difficult to measure that, how they're going. Yeah, this is our setup. Yeah, the taking care of barn, the hospitality barn, what we call it, and then we run our first lactation, second lactation, our Jerseys, and then the older calves. The Jerseys are fed the same way as the first lactation, and then the second lactation and third lactation and so on get fed also on the same TMR. The startup group is also get fed the same like the Jerseys and the first setup. So that's how. If I would change, yeah,
What's the difference between the two rations?
it's more
More forage?
concentrated.
More concentrate?
It's more concentrated for the Jerseys. Yeah.
And your heifers?
Yeah, and the first lactation, yeah, and the startup group. So yeah, so that's it's more concentrated, and it's just because the Jersey cannot live on the same TMR as the Holsteins are doing, because it's a smaller cow. We have smaller amount of feed intake, but still we expect to do the same thing, not on liters but on solids. So it's yeah. You have to have Jersey cows to find out that, yeah, they are good enough.
And sorry, am I right? So you're doing 36 kilos of milk?
ECM.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At 5% butter fat and 4% protein.
Yeah.
So you're doing about 3 kilos of solids a day.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Is that right?
What? How many days do they move from fresh to main
Actually, we let the cow or the heifer decide when they are ready.
Just open the door and then walk out.
No. We have a route who is going from right here behind, going over. I can probably show it right here. Like they walk from this barn to this barn, and then we have all the road around. And what we did before, we didn't have this one around the shed, so we pushed them through this group and then over the feed alley and then through the other group and disturbed too many calves, and so you really find out, and there were some complaints about it was too expensive for 1 day a week, and you have to, it's easy if you have a cow who is getting lame or something and we need to trim the hooves. We do it actually over here, because when we dry off the cows, this is our dry off area for the cows, so we trim the hooves before they get dried off.
And so how do you choose which cows to move and when to move them?
I do it every Sunday evening. I go through my daily program and I look at the figures. Then I send a list to the guy who's taking care of this barn, and he takes out the one he thinks he knows to keep them, and then he gives me some suggestions that he probably wants. So it's about communication. I do the work for him So it's and then I said yes, no to the one he wants to get out of there, and he just wants to get rid of the Jerseys because he thinks they are a pain in the ass. But yeah, I just.
And what criteria do you look for? How many days, how many liters?
Visits, and then the leaders, and then I really look at the activity bar, so rumination and the feed intake. So I look at that. If it's going in a straight line, we didn't have any dip. So and then yeah, how many visits does it have? How is the milk flow going? How is our yield and so on? That's what decides me one time a week where she had to go. Yeah.
Because we have a fresh box too, where I was noticing heifers get a real big check when they move group, and visits were dropping. And
Yes.
so decided to stop putting heifers into fresh and move them straight into a heifer group.
Yeah.
Did you see the same thing, or?
Yeah, but I have so much pressure on my first group here that I already sometimes take the bigger ones and put into the second lactation group. So yeah, if I start to train the heifers in this group, it's getting disturbance, and then they won't be so effective like they should be. So yeah, I have been challenged that question before, and I've thought about it, but yeah, I don't really have the room for it. So yeah, and actually we're selling our crossbreeds at the moment, the crossbreeds heifers to the UK at the moment. So yeah, some of them, because we have lots of them. Yeah, we have 750. We have 650 dairy cows, and we have 750 heifers walking around. So yeah, they kind of tight. So we're trying to sell lots to the UK, but we're struggling with the blue time at the moment. So that's stopping us. So now we're going east to Poland. Yeah, so that's our barn setup. The future, we're looking at not exactly the way he just wrote his drawing in. I have a different view in my head, and it's already drawn on paper just with a little pen. But it's nearly similar to this. We want the future. If we're going for it, we're going for a 20 robots setup, and it will probably be what we call in Denmark. This is an H stall. Service center. This I would probably move to the end of it, so I could have more straight line here, and then I would probably face the robots this way. I try to work with that idea, and David, he convinced me to do a separation group and having this walkthrough. So you can make a walkthrough and see all the cows who are separated. You need attention on this side of the robot. But it's always a balance about how to build your setup, because it's also real nice to. I also have been thinking, you put the feed alley outside, and you actually have 8 robots in one robot room, so you can service and clean, and you only have one robot room to really take care of in one barn. So that would also be an advantage. So that's lots of things to go and compromise things when you think about doing things. Yeah. Any questions?
Any questions from the audience?
Which cows do you choose to breed replacements from? Although you by the same time, yeah.
It's in the Nordic country we have the Nordic Total Merit, so it's the NTM where we are breeding for, and I just look at the NTM, so the Nordic Total Merit. We look at the highest one are getting sex semen from the Holsteins are getting pure Holsteins, and then the worst Holsteins are getting Montbéliard, and that crossbreed between Holsteins and Montbéliard are getting sex semen from the Viking Blue. So we're going beef on dairy, and the reason I call it Danish or Viking Blue is because we have taken the Belgian Blue breed and put it up like found the most calving ease, so we can use them on our dairy cows. Even the Jerseys can work with the blue setup. So and that's also sex semen, so we exactly knows what's going to be our future cow and so on. And the Jerseys, we just keep them straight clean Jersey. We don't crossbreed them, but we even go beef on Jersey or just clean Jersey. Yeah.
What was the thinking behind crossbreeding your Holsteins to Montbéliard? Why did that?
My father started doing pro cross, so he had the Swedish Red and Danish Red, and then he had the Flag Fee instead of the Montbéliard. because he went to a trip to Austria and got lots of beer and thought that was a good idea. And then he came back and bought a lot of semen and yeah, you know. So that's, but that really made me think when I saw that those cows coming in, there was too much variation in the flag feed. So you could have tits like this, and you could actually have a very nice cow. So it was too big difference between the flag feeds. So I went from the flag feed to Montbéliard because I went to France. I didn't drink beer. I looked at cows, and I saw these others, and they were all in the same height. Teats were just placed on the right place. It's really a good robot cow for otherwise when you look at it. So that's why I took that in, and then I took out the red breed because they are pretty high in temper. So when I was cleaning the beds, I knew that I could see that there was a black leg or a black and white leg coming. I knew I had to watch out, or else we would get kicked. Because they were very, not because I did something or they just wanted to. So
Normally they don't get that close.
That's why we took them out. I didn't like that temperament. So so it's just from experience we do what we do. So keep
Is
it.
that the Viking red you took out?
Sorry?
You saying you took the Viking red out of your breeding?
Yeah, it's a Swedish red SRB and the RDM red Danish milk breed. Yeah, so I took them out because you have the Pro Cross, and Pro Cross you have the biggest advantage of heterosis. So it's Holstein, Montbéliard, and the Reds. But I took the Reds out because so the reason. Yeah.
Do you find the Monty Holsteins last longer, or more fertile, or more robust?
Longer.
Last longer.
Do you have any straight Holsteins?
They can have 41, 42 in temperature. They don't care. They stand up. They will go milk. They don't tell you if they are getting sick or anything. They are just machines, in my eyes. So they are the most easy cow to take care of. And when you put them on a truck to McDonald's, then you also can see that it will get you some more. I don't breed cows to slaughter them, but still it's getting a bit more advantageous.
You've lost the money.
You can finish them more off. So
But just going back on that question, are they more profitable than a Holstein, even though do they give less milk? But or do they last longer, therefore have a greater lifetime yield? Or
I would probably say they don't yield that much, but I think the Holstein you have to look at your setup. Like I don't have sand bedding. I wish I had balls big enough to make sand bedding, but it's just difficult to handle. It's just real difficult to handle in our barn.
Surely that's your brother's problem.
That's true, but I have to pay the bills. so I'm paying my brother's bills. So, but it's true. Sandbedding and Holstein cows is just number one. So and we got our mattresses with water upstairs now, and we just use caulk and sawdust, and that's our setup. And it will be a disaster if we start putting sandbedding in. Probably in the new setup we could do it, but the handling of sand in the Danish farming will be more difficult than if I was in the US. If I was in the US, I'd probably do it, but in Denmark it's difficult. So that's why I choose for a strong, simple cow I can live. I'm not aiming for the highest yield. I'm aiming for have a nice, comfortable day, making it easy to watch after my cows, and then you don't choose the jerseys if you want that. I bought a farming jerseys. It was bankrupt, and I bought it, and it was a neighbor. I couldn't help it. stuck with the Jerseys because it was of an, you ask permission on the council to have these cows, and then you cannot change them back to Holsteins because it's a bigger breed. So you have to stay with the breed. So I can only go backwards on my Holsteins and only have Jersey cows, or just leave it like it is. So yeah, it was a challenge. It isn't anymore. We learned to manage it very well, but it took probably 3 to 5 years to really.
What was the biggest challenge with the Jerseys in comparison?
We didn't give them enough. We thought we could nearly feed them like a Holstein cow, and we found out they really need more concentrated. Yeah, and the feeding setup in the robots was also a combination of a Holstein, and so we divided that feeding, so they're getting because they have less milk but much higher solids. Yeah, that was very difficult to so it's a managing thing. You also find out many different ways to
Well, they
manage.
get milk finger mid lactation.
Yeah. So yeah, that's how it is.
What would your 305-day average on Jerseys be?
305 days. I think it's we're yielding. Our average is 11,800 ECM on 305 days, or average on the farm. I think we're heading towards 10,000 on the Jerseys. Yeah. So so they're going all right. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah.
So that's nearly a ton of solid to carry then. If it's 10% solids for your Jerseys, 6% good fat, 4% protein for Jerseys.
Yeah, it's nearly 10% solids. Yeah.
Yeah.
And in average, we're doing the 9%
Yeah.
solids. So yeah. And what we feed the cows, that's also something to do with that, because 3 years ago we start. I don't know. In Denmark, if I translate it straight, it's feeding beets. So it's a sort of sugar beet, and we have maize silage, we have some corn starch, and then we have grass silage, pure grass, and then we have 40 hectares of sugar beets, and I can probably show you here. When we chop our silage, we keep about half a meter down from the top of the silo. So we chop our corn silage and put them in the silos. Then we when we take out the beets in later in the season, we put them in this. We just made a new shed for not only for that, but we put them inside. They lay down for 14 days, and then we start pulling off all the plastic off one silo, and we start chopping all the beets upstairs, the corn silos. So you have 1.5 meter, 2 meters of sugar beets upstairs your corn silos, and that in 1 week that turns to probably half a meter, and all the moisture will get down in the corn silo. So and that's actually also a little bit story of how we get to the 9% solids. Yeah. So and that's because we want to get higher and higher rate of self-made food for the cows, so we have to buy less. We put 4.5 kilo inside, average inside the robots, and we are up in, I think it's 70% grass, our homemade silage, forage. That's what we put in our cows. So it's 70%. We only buy 30% of their intake. So yeah, that's it.
Any questions online?
Yes, we had another question in. What is the biggest misunderstanding about automation on Dairy XL farms? And can you,
Yeah.
yeah, well, yeah.
So we'll leave that.
Well,
on.
yeah.
Good. Okay. So, thank you. We'll move on. Ian, from file.
Good evening everyone, I'm Neil Ridgway, Farm Manager at Stoll Farms. Over here, space. So yeah, we've been fully automatic for 6 months, but the first robots went in 14 months ago, so we're a 3,000 acre mixed farming estate in Wiltshire. 780 Holstein Friesian cows, all pedigree, and I'm already regretting putting on there that we've got 3 jerseys as well. But, I think that was nostalgia, and I must have been on holiday with Rick when he got drunk. I do recall it being late at night, but we've also got the 500 kilowatt AD at Sharket. Also on the estate, 2,000 breeding ewes, all under a high tier stewardship scheme. And then an arable unit that's producing all the forage for the dairy, young stock, sheep, and then grain in the form of wheat, barley and beans that we sell. You can see on the picture there, that is the Sharket dairy. Hopefully you can tell from the colour, we've got a new shed at the bottom, but the original 3 sheds from when the dairy was built 10, 11 years ago. We had an old 38-point internal rotary and 2 cubicle houses. We have reformed inside, outside. The only thing that remains standing were the steels in the roof. So as far as we could, we made it exactly how we wanted it, because the one thing I've learned over many years is if you make a compromise in the design process, you'll regret it for the next 20 years. So yeah, and the whole ethos of the farm is sustainably producing a profit for the farm whilst looking after the cows at the centre of the dairy business, and every enterprise feeds into another. So you might think, why on earth you've got 2,000 sheep, and I do wonder that myself at that time, but the contributions they make to helping with green manure, eating the cover crops on the arable rotation, it's more than just the physical and more than just the financial contributions, but the physical aspects around managing the sustainability of the farm. So a big prevalence for us is feed consistency and presentation. So all our homegrown forage is forage maize, hybrid forage rye, lucerne, clover-rich lays, and then herbal lays for the young stock and sheep. But then we are quite OCD about our diet presentation, silage plant management, and I was quite chuffed today with some of the compliments that Dave gave me about our silage pits, because I was thinking they were looking a mess as I pulled the top sheet off. So, but yeah, if every extra litre of milk we can get from forage is a litre less than buying off the feed company, which pains the feed reps to hear, but we buy enough compound off them without giving them more than what we can do, and it really is. I mean, you can see in the background of the picture, I sell a Pell feeder wagon. That's been on the farm for 14 months, and I buy robots tomorrow, but I'd order another one of those on the way home to tell it, because it has just transformed everything that we do. We couldn't look at the vector system because I wouldn't trust a vector driving up the road to the heifer unit. Similarly, the efficiency and the cloud presentation, as the guys saw today, it is far better, and the forage is direct from the clamp to the cow within minutes. That feed consistency and presentation really drives us, because we're producing milk for Arla, and we're in the second quarter of their new sustainability incentive, and for everything that we focus on, we haven't fed soy or such for a long time, but we are achieving 66 points on the incentive scheme, and the maximum's 80, and the only 2 I physically can't get is for grazing cows. So I'm trying to work around that though, but so yeah, feed presentation quality, we have all our own foraging equipment, so we don't take risks on contractors being 2-3 days late. It's in the pit exactly how we want, when we want it, and we eliminate as much risk as possible. So the dairy layout, over the last 14 months, we've installed 12 A5 astronauts, comprising of 3 sheds, 4 robots, catering for 220 cows. Each shed is split into 2 groups, so we realistically have 6 groups of 110 cows. With that, I was listening interestingly about heifer groups and fresh cow groups. We run 2 fresh cow groups, well, fresh cow and a fresh heifer group. Then later on they move into a heifer group or cow groups by the lactation age, size, weight, many contributing factors that we haven't really pinned down because we are still quite a juvenile system, and we like to think on our feet and keep ourselves excited. But then we've got 7 of the new Discovery collectors which have transformed our system, going from an old scraper tractor and scraping out twice a day at milking times. The collectors have just transformed youth health around our place, and I'd recommend anybody buying A5s to buy the collectors at the same time. You will not regret it. And then we have 2 Junos which travel around the farm, not always restricted to where they're meant to be, as many of our visitors have seen now, and it's especially surprising when you meet them in the silage pit when you're coming down the clamp when you're pushing maize in. But yeah, so we have gone all out on the automation, and it's been an exciting 2.5 years since we started the project, and yeah, people told me I was mad and couldn't do it, and I proved that I was mad and could do it. So yeah, the numbers after 12 months, it's been exciting, and some people say it's not that great yet, but we were coming from a very mediocre performance on the old system. So we're at 37.6 kilogram average at the moment, bearing in mind that 43% of the herd are first lactation heifers, calving in at around 23 months of age. We are really excited for where our performance will get to when those heifers mature and we slow our replacement rate down. So yeah, daily milk, we're producing over 2,000 kilograms of robot already. Again, on some systems you can't even dream of that, and yet we're starting to wonder. Yes, we're averaging 55 cows per robot now. Is the efficiency better off at 50 cows per robot doing 2,400 litres of milk? But then drastic changes on our cell count and mastitis, they are just plummeted. We had a reasonably good cell count before, but our mastitis rates, I mean, 20 in 100 is still pretty high for where we want to get to, but with the advancement in the different quarter milking systems, there's a lot of people that things on conventional parlours would say are unrealistic, but when you see, for people who milk in conventional parlours, when you see what the robots can do and achieve, a lot of it is just down to that quarter milking system. And 3.1 milkings a day, we collect cows twice a day and heifers 3 times a day, so to be getting 3.1 milkings a day is quite phenomenal. We have cows that we let milk 6 times a day if they're doing 60 litres or more, and I can't wait to get home and tell Chris that Dave's got a cow doing 90 litres, because that's just dreamland for us at the moment. But yes, that's given us an average yield at the moment of 11,500 kilos lactation average. Preg rates still not good enough for us, but again, where it came from and what we're doing, we have had 18 months of being a building site, and when I left Wiltshire this afternoon, the concrete wagons were still coming in on another project. But The real impressive one is nearly 3,500 litres of milk from forage. 18 months ago we were just a shade over 1,200, so, and yeah, 42%. Lactation 1 heifers, and I've bored a few of you guys already when you've walked around Stole on various visits with everything we've done, but the transformation from conventional milk into robots, I stood there amused a few weeks ago when 2 farmers were arguing about the size of the rotary parlours, and one was bragging about 100 stall rotary, and I just stood back and pointed out to them they were completely missing the point that why would you put a conventional parlour in when you look at the cows after 12 months of being on robots and they are just a complete different beast of an animal, the social interactions, and I'm quite keen to go back and explore our touch times because we don't have any segregated handling. We have ways in which we can do it, but you can see everything's on self-locking yokes. Vet routines take us 20 minutes a shed on a Monday. We roam and walk AIing, and the biggest factor that not many of us spoken about tonight, we've spoken about labour, but the quality of labour that we now employ as well. We have 5 full-time employees and 2 apprentices on the dairy. They're doing everything from cow welfare, calving, breeding, vet routines, 50% of the foot trimming, but every one of those now have worked on the dairy since we've done it, and they don't want to go back and milk on a parlour job, so I'm worried about you people in the room who might be able to poach them because you've got robots, but I'm not too worried about people with big parlours, so but yeah, it has been a big road we've been on. Luckily I've had plenty of experience with robots, but a big step that we made in the change was I made sure that none of the staff listened to anybody else bar what I was telling them, because I didn't want them to bring preconceptions about this is what Joe Bloggs does with 2 robots and goes home at lunchtime, because we still arrive at 5 o'clock in the morning to check calving cows and collect cows, but we treat each shed as a separate shed, so one person is responsible for a shed. In the afternoon shift they'll change around, do calf feeding, the calving pens, but they'll always come back to there's 5 sets of eyes, 6, 7 with the apprentices, all seeing different things around the farm. We love the amount of data from the robots, but you still can't be a professional set of eyes. Don't tell my staff I call them professionals, please. But yeah, it really is a big credit to our farm, the team that we've got on the farm as well. So yeah, I think that's the last slide. Yes. So
Have you found recruiting labour easier?
Once you sort the wheat from the chaff, because we put a job advert out, and you can still get 50 van drivers from Bristol or Swindon apply thinking they like the idea of living on a farm, but when you get down to the crust of the quality CVs, we do find that we can just employ cow people. We're not having to employ people to drive a scraper tractor, to bend the scraper, to drive into the doors. We don't just employ people to put cups on cows. And the best thing is 99% of the time the robots milk the cows exactly the way you want them to, better than any person can. And the 1% of the time they don't milk the cow properly, they even own up to it and call you to tell you they haven't milked it. So it wasn't me, and who's done that? Oh, it's whoever did it this morning. It doesn't exist when it comes to milking the cows, and we still let the staff milk the cows once properly, because we have a nice new calving barn now, individual calving pens, and we've got a mobile milk where we do the first milking. We have 12 to 16 hours in those pens before they go into the fresh cow group. So you very rarely see any of our staff grumpy and miserable with parlour fatigue because they just don't spend 8 hours a day stood in a parlour, and that's another misconception that a lot of people have. When you're not seeing your cows twice a day in a parlour, you lose that time seeing cows, but we've got all our staff who just love spending time with the cows, and we don't have to worry if at AI time or if we need to find an individual cow to check. If one of our staff isn't quite sure where that cow is, the staff member stood next to her knows exactly where it is because they're just all invested in the cows. And we are pedigree as well, which gives us another angle, so classifying, breeding good cows. It's everything else to make a job that's quite tough in an industry that we're not going to get dulled down by the pressures tonight, but everything else, it does make the site quite exciting to be around and does just keep everybody rejuvenated and excited about the future.
What were your components in the 37 years?
Just over, well, combined it's about 7.5% pushing out. But then there is all the equations through where we want to be with sustainability and such now. So it's, for drilling it down to solids, we're still doing over a ton of solids a cow a year. So but then the big thing on a large farm like us, litres dilute the other costs as well. So and where we've got to in 12 months, we've got some of our cows now that we're on the robot doing 13,000 litres a year. The volumes that we're talking of now, Chris dried 10 cows off yesterday. Between them all, they've done 160,000 litres in 1 year between them. And we've got a 4th lactation cow projected to do 18,000 litres in 305 days this year. She's milked 6 times a day, and she's a proper bill payer. You don't see her. She was a little bit of a struggle to get in calf, but what's the point in serving a cow doing 60, 70 litres milk at 70 days? Because you're only going to be drying her off doing 40 litres of milk anyway. So it is one of those things that we're very excited at the moment what we've invested in the infrastructure, but we've invested twice as much time, energy, passion and money into the genetics that in 3 years' time when all our genetics is shining through, it's fingers crossed it'll be where we want to be. So, yes.
On the genetics, what are you selecting for then, for your ideal robot cow?
I don't believe in robot cows. Any semen wrecker comes to me and tells me he's got a robot ready bull gets a very short answer of, have you ever tried milking the bull? So, yeah, but well, we've all spoken about it this afternoon. We don't breed cows that you wouldn't milk on a parlour. If you're expecting a robot to milk a cow that you would milk on a parlour, don't breed cows, because ultimately you want a cow that's robust, legs, feet, udders. Teat placement is prevalent, but what we're actually working with ST, if we can mention other companies, we've given them access to our milking speed data, so that we can select bulls on milking speed compared to our data, because we're being a pedigree herd classifying, we don't trust the data on bull proofs for milking speed, because everybody can tell the classifier, oh, she's a bit slow, but I can make a coffee when she's milking and such. And when you really are refining the parameters on robot efficiency, the data that you know isn't sound in those proofs just don't cut the mustard for us. So
would you say there's a call for this data we're gathering as often automated systems to be used more widely for bull?
yeah, I mean, I think that's one thing that the people at the Oval know, that we are very keen on the Dairy Excel side, because what we push for, because everybody probably knows what the backing is of our business, Finances aren't an issue for us, but I can assure you the return on the investment is more critical. And just everything that we can do to get that extra, either extra litre or penny less cost. The way larger herds are dealing with it isn't just your average 2 or 3 robot herd now. It's downtime is critical, because we know if our robots are down for an hour, that's 1,000 litres of milk we're not getting back, and it's just thinking of a system as a 24-hour system, not just the operating hours, because it gives me joy when I can be called out to I don't do the robot calls, I'm on the AD emergency call list, but I enjoy going down to the AD plant when she rings at night, fixing a problem down there. Takes me half an hour to drive out the farmyard because I'm just cow watching, enjoying the cows, doing what we do, 24 hours a day. And well, I think one of the ladies with us today was almost eaten by one of my cows. She was being that inquisitive and social. So we now have a new term. Was it cow feeds instead of selfies you were doing today? So but yeah, no, if we can carry that excitement on and pass it on to others, because like Dave was saying about their education centre, we've got similar at our place, and some people have entertained it already. So so yeah, that's us. Don't think there's any more questions, unless Graham's got a burning one.
Due to your number of heifers, how did you find getting them onto the robot first? Did you train them at all, or?
We thought about a lot of ways, but we really focused in on the training exercises. It's quite amusing, but when we started up our 3rd shed, we didn't have any startup support from Lely, because we'd already trained 400 and something cows onto 8 other robots. We were quite confident we knew what we were doing by then, but instead of doing it dribs and drabs 20 at a time or such and that, we brought a lot of quality genetics in from other farms as in-calf heifers, so we could get a constant spread through the year instead of just having a bulk of heifers arrive in one go. But then when the final shed was complete, we did go out and buy about 160 milking animals, whether it was heifers or later lactation cows, which none of them were robot trained. We did buy 20 in-calf heifers from a local robot farmer, but we literally had a 24-hour-a-day system for 5 days. We didn't muck about with tying gates up with bale and twine. We doubled up on bungee gates and made sure the layout and design was right, because the amount of designs that we tore up and started again just to make sure we got it right. And I was quite proud of the fact there was very little, if nothing, that we changed from the 1st shed. The 3rd shed that we finished was pretty much identical, so whenever, if ever, we change cow groups, it's the same layout, there's no dead ends, it's all light, airy, loafing areas outside, so yeah, there isn't many things, unless I'm being hypercritical, that we would change, but we're talking even more money to change what I would do, so.
Very good.
Cool. Right. Thank you.
Cheers. So we'll now move on to thank our presenters for what they've spoken about their own farms. But I suppose now I want to open it up to the floor and to our online guests to talk about, to the panel, about what their view on certain topics are. So can we start off with the one that Joe first came in with, on one of the biggest misconceptions? So, as a group, what do you think of that?
I think personally one of the earliest preconceptions was that robots do the work and you can just sit at home personally, because that's the complete opposite of what we do. If any of my staff or prospective staff turn up thinking it's a robot farm, it's an easy life, yes, you don't stand in the parlour for 8 hours a day, but you work damn hard to make sure the cows, and like Jess was saying, it's finding the efficiencies to deal with the problem cows, so you can spend more time with the cows that you may not do ultimately. So.
From my side, it's the same, like, it's a misunderstanding if you think the robot's gonna do the job for you. It will, but you still have to be there and look after your cows. You can just do it in a different way. And like the data you got, it's more, you got it every day and you can
It's
count it.
consistent and reliable. as
Yeah.
well.
So,
it's doing one aspect of the job for you, which frees you up to do the other bits better.
It's the conventional people who think spending time in a parlour is spending time with your cows.
Yeah.
It's a completely different mindset, because when you're in a parlour, you're looking at maybe 2 legs and 2 or 3 teats of the cow, depending on how you milk them. But when you spend that time with the cows in the robot system, you've got all the data behind you from what she's done, however many times a day, however many days she's been in lactation, from milk temperature to cell counts, mastitis, fat, proteins, weight loss. It's that time you get to spend with the cows with it all at the palm of your hand. It's a completely different way, and it excites our team for looking at good quality cows and having that data with them. So.
David and Jeff, what were the misconceptions that when you started your robotic journey?
I would say the big one just being that you can't facilitate robots on a really large scale, and I definitely think that's been disproven now. How you handle the milk, how you get it to its final location on the farm, those really aren't problems anymore. It's really been pretty easily solved on how we handle that, and then how we set up our barns to be able to milk plenty of cows with plenty of robots.
Yeah, I think something we talked about earlier is, we talked about, exploring rotaries and what does that look like. And we're like, oh, it's so much easier to throw up a rotary, get your cows milk. But just the amount of time and the amount of cows you now have to push through that rotary, plus the amount of staff, and then you look at the efficiencies that we've now gained by going with robots, and just, we have new challenges, different challenges. But we're still doing cows, and I'll be completely honest, like, before David and I got married and this was a plan, I was like, you're absolutely crazy, put a rotary up, because, like, we're gonna milk our cows and get it done. And now I'm like, I don't know why it was ever that way, because I like to just go walk cows, so it's, definitely that if you can get more efficiencies out of a rotary than you can out of robots. You can get a lot more efficiencies out of robots, we just haven't looked at what that scale looks like, because we've been too afraid of the price tag and too afraid of what the service costs are gonna be.
And it's also that fact that we talk about efficiencies in a conventional system. When you add up all that time the cows are walking back into the shed, stood in the collecting yard, in the parlour, you don't really appreciate that. So you've got no parlour to look at, and I can pretty much save bar an hour a day when we're cleaning beds and really in the cows. The other 23 hours a day are productive.
Yeah.
What is it on a conventional system? Because I know what it was on our old system, and it was quite shocking. So.
Any questions from the audience for the panel?
What would your advice be for a conventional producer, shall we say, who's got maybe a rotary or something like that that's coming to the end of its time? What would your advice be to him or her or them?
Neil, you should go first.
Thanks,
You
I was actually talking to one of our neighbours today, because we've been at another meeting, and they're in that position, a rotary parlour is 20 years old, and he said, look, we graze cows, and I was like, don't look at my example, because we don't graze cows, but the misconception of grazing cows and robots not marrying up is pretty nonsense these days. Like Dave was saying about milk flow and milk collection around the farm. If you've got the infrastructure for cow tracks and a grazing platform, robots is an ideal way for that as well. So the one big thing I would say, if you've got the support of Lady to do a project, 99.9% of the time, if you're dedicated to that project, it will work. Whereas other companies, this is just my personal opinion from what I've seen in the industry, other companies might say it can be done, but if Lady have said it can't, Lady are the ones with 75 years experience, is it now?
Yeah,
I know where I put my money if I was a betting man, so. So Jess, is it your turn now?
I think similarly in how we learn and probably will continue to move through that process of, what is next in technology, is we built the barn. I mean, third generation had to expand cow numbers, but when we built in phases, so we got to get used to the robots before we fully committed to the entire system. So if it's something you're looking at, obviously too, I mean, spend time, find someone you value and trust to take you out within the company and show you different opportunities on how you can make that work in your system and find what's going to work best for your team and your cows. And then it's not like it all has to happen tomorrow. It's, once it's done, it's brilliant. And as you can see, Rick's, he's still working on the magic. I'm still like in awe that he's been doing this for 24 years. So I think like that's the biggest thing. It doesn't all have to be done in one day. And you can lead the project out. You can learn as you go, and then that volume of money changes, and you find your efficiencies as you work into it. So then you can grow versus being like, okay, I need this at this time in this building, and maybe David has other different.
But then, Rick, what advice would you give to somebody shows up at your farm tomorrow and says, I'm thinking of buying a rotary or a robot, or my robot's or my rotary's tired? What advice would you give them?
Yeah, I would probably tell them the opportunity about robot milking, show them my setup, and then I would tell them if you're gonna go for robots, you gotta do it 100%. Because that's all about it. We also talked about the story about the factory. Like we're not 100% for it at the moment, so we're not going to do it. And you have to really trust on the system that it does the job it needs to do, and then just let it go and put all your effort into making it work. And what I have seen, some companies just want to sell robots, but Lady doesn't only sell robots, they sell the concept of having robots and all the management around. They will be there for you if you have a challenge you need to get fixed and so on. So, and I also see projects being set up in Denmark with some different way to milk with robots, and Lady just said no, we don't want to go with that project because this is not going to work. And trust me, in a couple of years they find out it didn't work. But yeah, and Lady is only into the free cow traffic and all that. The cow has to do her job herself. So it really is about trust. And I just and you have to go 100% for it if you're gonna choose robots, or else don't do it because it won't be a success. So yeah.
Just a final point on that, like I said in my speech, but it's amusing to listen to conventional parlour people saying my parlour's going to be bigger than your parlour. They're actually missing the point on cow welfare now. So.
Well, one of the things that I would actually like, and Neil, you have such a good approach to it, but I want to know more about the staff piece. So I wrote down your staff retention, staff management, and the profile and how that changes. Because before, you guys on a big parlour, you needed cups on, you needed spray. You know, there's a few very, I suppose, routine jobs that you had people to do. How does that, and you can now compare the systems, how has that changed?
I work with all things 4 legs and 2 legs. But yes, I think before I'm going into the project, like maybe many, I mean, there's 3 kind of selling points on the robots, and a lot of it's, you know, labor, your time management, and then, I don't know what my third one is, but anyway, so in the parlor, we have a staff of 16 people, and it was a constant revolving door of something happening, or the next area offers more money, or, you know, things along those terms. And now we have 6 people, and really we don't have a lot of retention. The retention we've had has been more voluntary culling, just because of, like you said, you have to kind of filter through to make sure you get the right person in there, because it is an important job, and you have to own up to things too when something goes wrong, because the robot will tell you, but you have someone there 24/7 and they're like, oh, I never got the alarm. Okay, well, we put Wi-Fi on.
It's on the phone.
Yeah. So we have very little retention. Employees are like Neil said, they're happy to show up to work. They're very engaged in the system, and just that culture of engagement has changed the game. It's more of a team effort. We have different types of conversations with people. And again, my big thing is elevating. I always want to elevate up, like what's the next thing we can do and learn. And it just made it more enjoyable too. It used to be a huge task to be a manager and have to come in every morning and put fires out, but when you're all like-minded and driven to get that same process done and at the betterment of the cow, that's been huge, and it helps on the managing side for the 2 that are down there doing it. Versus the parlor, we're still working on, you know, getting all those common goals together, but it's just, you have a lot more personalities.
Yeah. But do you feel that you can invest more? Obviously, you can invest more. If staff are going to hang around longer, you can invest more in their training and development, as well as you actually get more skilled work out of staff, I imagine.
Yes, so I'd say that's like probably the biggest thing now is we're kind of trying to figure out what's that new balance of pay wages, because we're trying to increase and elevate, but then at one point we have to come back and create a grading scale of where are you at as far as training, where are you handling, what. And I think after having some more conversations, you know, maybe 6 people is too many people, or what's kind of the next step to be.
You just start with a little buzz.
Yeah. They love when I leave. Actually, they hate when I leave. I don't know how I want to say this, but anyways, they don't like when I come back. So, but no, I think it's been a good change, and we have more people obviously that want to go into that barn. And it's always, oh, it's so much easier work. Well, yes and no. It's just it's new. It's a new process, new challenges, different responsibilities.
Yeah. And then obviously you mentioned apprenticeships.
Yeah, I mean, we're very much the last 14 months previous to that, we were all focused on recruitment, because the revolving door of recruitment span as fast as the rotary. Now, with a complete change in mindset, we focus more on retention and training, so upskilling our staff. We're aiming to get to a point when we're doing the ultrasound for irregular pregnancies, just to leave the vet to do the problematic ones. But then we've 2 apprentices on farm who are 2 cracking young girls, actually. That's probably one thing worth saying. Now a team of 7 in total with the 2 apprentices. There's only two burly men on the farm. The rest are all, I won't say anything before I get but we have found that with the robots, we don't really put any label on what we want. If somebody turns up with drive and passion, even if they don't know farming, we can mould them into what we want with the 2 apprentices. If we're not willing to train somebody who we want to work in our system, then how can we rely on whether it be a college or another farm to train somebody up, then be attracted by an advert at our place, to then arrive for a job with us and not, well, be in the headlights of a big jumping up that is the junior driving around the yard.
But and I think we all have a responsibility, certainly we as Lally have a responsibility, and our customers have a responsibility, because we can't continue to rely on farmers' sons and daughters to do the work for us. We need to, as consolidation happens, there will be less farmers' sons and daughters. So we need to leave as an industry, be more attractive to those outside of agriculture, and be able to train them when they do come into our farms and our businesses as well. So, and that actually led me on quite well to the, obviously you have quite a big centre for, an event centre for the community. Neil, you have something similar?
Yeah, it's not small scale, I think,
but how has that worked for you to incorporate the local people or the community?
Yeah, so it's been very, very exciting and very positive. We didn't really know what to expect. We were always calling it the visitor center for the longest time, and we realized that's not what it is. And what we mean by that is it can be very difficult. Some really large farms, they truly have a visitor center where you can show up. They have hours during the day. You can show up and get a tour, all that. That takes staffing and a lot of planning and extensive amount of time. And so we realized it's much more an event center where people can rent out, aside from your plain old townships, town halls that are just plain Jane rooms. This provides something a little more interesting at a reasonable price for people to use for their events, whether it's a family Christmas, a celebration of life, a graduation party for a high school graduate, whatever that may be. Community can use it. We also have businesses using it for their corporate meetings, and they really like that. It's just a nice atmosphere. And then also the big thing is we can utilize it for training for our employees, but also, like for example, our Christmas party will be happening the Friday we get back. So we'll have all of our employees and all their family can come, and it's just a really great bonding for the whole farm. We had this year for the first time ever, we had what we call our Fall Fest. So we had a corn maze or a maize maze. And so, I don't know if you have that here, but if you call it that, maze. So, but anyways, that was a lot of fun. That was really good. We had probably 700 or 800 people, and we live in a community of 1,100. So, 700 to 800 people came for the first year of that. It was a really great experience for everyone, I think. So, we're continuing to the cash cow of the events is always the weddings, where people pay thousands of dollars to rent out your facility. We're not there yet, but we so.
Any thoughts on getting closer to from a society perspective?
Yeah, I mean, we participate with LEAF, we'll be re-entering Open Farm Sunday, but knowledge transfer, I mean, I went to a knowledge transfer meeting on what this morning. We sat in a village hall in the middle of Somerset, and everything they were talking about we could demonstrate from our classroom overlooking the dry care facilities. Whether it's people in the industry, outside groups. We had a first aid course for the farm staff in there the other day. The first aid trainer hadn't really stepped foot on a farm before, and when she realised there was a cow calving out the window, well, the first aid training course was suspended until the cow had calved. But yeah, very much maybe not the weddings and wakes and things, but I don't think Greg would come and boil the kettle for that. So
whatever you want.
But yeah, very. I mean, to meet Jess and David and Rick for the first time this afternoon when we were all hot on the heat from other places, it was very quick to realise that from 3 separate parts of the world that we seem to have a lot in common walking around the farm and me trying to explain the peer pressure of different bodies and the public angle on farms in the UK and how Dave and Jess don't see that as a problem in America, so I might go and take a job with them next time. So.
Any other questions from the audience that would like anything online? No. Okay, look, if there's any, or is there any questions that the panel have for the audience here before we close? No? Okay, no, that's fine. So look, with that, I want to thank Neil, Rick, Dave and Jess for joining us tonight. It's been an absolute pleasure having you. And such an insight into your businesses and your view on robotic milking and your view on conventional milking as well. So thank you so much for coming. I just want to thank everyone who took the time to come and join us here physically. I hope you found some value in it and learn something, and even some thought-provoking concepts or ideas as well. And I'd like to thank everyone for joining us online as well. So thank you everyone.